So I just wrote about this in the Chronicle Philanthropy, actually. There was a really great article on matchmaking and kind of talked about some of the consolidation that's going on in the sector. And the questions that I posed was something to the effect of, are we still relevant? Right? Which forces you to say, what's changed in the world, right? If we were founded to make wagon wheels, I don't see a lot of wagons on my day to day. And there's a chance that our relevancy has decreased in recent years. So one question is just, are we still relevant? Right? And should we still exist? And then the other question you should be asking on a regular basis is, who are we collaborating with? Who are we partnering with to get this done? Or do we think that we are an island and we can do it all by ourselves? That's a question, or both of those questions are things that if you're doing strategic planning, if you have an annual board retreat, somebody on your board should pose those two questions and somebody should have an answer to that, right? There should be a way for you to justify your relevance because our world is changing and it's changing very fast all the time. So you're having to evolve to keep up with that. But I think even this question of who are we partnering with and who else should we be partnering with? Most people don't ask that. It's not usually something in the strategic planning playbook, and it should be.
And so, I know it's hard to give the specifics, but what are some of those signals of smoke that that conversation should be having had, the questions that you're asking? You're like, I come back to financial, but you mentioned are we making wagon wheels right now? Especially, in the age of AI and some of the cuts. And, I want to get to also where we are in the context of history, but I really want something more specific. Like someone's listening right now being like, is this us? Like how far in the future should this process be thought of and a plan considered?
There's been a lot of talk recently about business continuity planning. And you were talking about something earlier, and I was thinking about somebody shared with me recently the idea of organizational estate planning, right? Which is just a different way of saying, look, I don't know about you, George, but
Feels nice.
yeah, if you have kids, you may have done a little bit of thinking about your estate planning. So for organizations, I think my primary recommendation is that anything you do that's annual, this should be part of that conversation, right? In the absence of making this a regular part of what you do, some of the signals that I would be looking for have way less to do with everything that's wrong about your organization, like financial struggles or a program that has had decreased participation consistently for the last several years, things like that. And I would be looking at much more closely the advantages that you could pass on to your community by partnering with somebody else, right? So I think, if you come at this from a deficit mindset, the thing you have to remember is that this is a marriage of two parties and both of them have to show up to the wedding. If your organization is kind of a hot mess, all that's going to do is put those liabilities on that other organization and make them weaker. I have some clients who come to me and they're like, our organization is struggling. This organization is struggling. We think if we combine, we might be able to survive. Well, all you've done is create a larger organization that's struggling, right? And it's not to say that there aren't benevolent organizations out there who are strong or in a stable place and see a really vital program, okay? Like one that is serving youth in an after-school program who without that program have nowhere to be.